Our story begins amidst the dense, verdant forests of southern India. In September of 1948, a drama of epic proportions was about to unfold, Operation Polo. India, newly independent from British rule, was struggling to unite its diverse peoples. Within its borders lay the princely state of Hyderabad, ruled by the Nizam, hesitant to relinquish his autonomy. Against this backdrop, the Indian government launched Operation Polo, a decisive military intervention that would change the course of history. Picture the Indian subcontinent in 1947, a land teeming with diverse cultures, languages and religions, all under the shadow of a monumental change. After centuries of British dominion, India had finally gained its independence, but at a cost, a brutal partition creating India and Pakistan. This division was not just a line on a map. It was a deep wound that tore through the fabric of society, displacing millions and igniting communal violence. Amidst this upheaval, another drama was playing out in Hyderabad, a princely state caught in the crossfire of emerging national identities. Ruled by the Nizam, a Muslim monarch, Hyderabad was a land of immense wealth and strategic importance. The Nizam, one of the richest men in the world, presided over a kingdom that was a mosaic of cultures and religions. The Nizam envisioned an independent Hyderabad, free from the influence of both Delhi and Karachi. He sought to maintain his sovereignty in a rapidly changing political landscape. This vision put him on a collision course with the Indian government, determined to integrate Hyderabad into the newly formed Indian Union. The stakes were high, as Hyderabad's strategic location and resources were too significant to be left as an independent entity. Operation Polo was born out of this impasse, a calculated gamble to bring Hyderabad into the fold. The Indian government, under the leadership of Sardar Patel, saw this as a necessary step to ensure the unity and integrity of the nation. In days, Indian troops overwhelmed the Nizam's forces, ending Hyderabad's brief flirtation with independence. The swift and decisive action of the Indian military left no room for prolonged conflict. The success of Operation Polo cemented India's dominance and ended the era of princely states. It was a clear message to other princely states about the central government's resolve. Critics questioned its necessity and pointed to civilian casualties as evidence of its heavy-handedness. The operation, while successful, left a trail of human suffering and raised ethical questions about the use of force. Nevertheless, Operation Polo remains a pivotal event in Indian history, a decisive chapter in the country's tumultuous birth. It showcased the complexities and challenges of nation-building in a diverse and divided land. In the chapters that follow, we will delve deeper into the events that led to Operation Polo, examining the complex political landscape of post-independence India. We will explore the motivations, the conflicts, and the resolutions that shaped the destiny of a newly independent nation. To understand the events in Hyderabad, we must journey back to the years leading up to Operation Polo. The Nizam of 1947, Osman Ali Khan, was rumored to be the richest man in the world, yet beneath this opulence lay a kingdom in turmoil. Hyderabad was not a homogeneous state. While ruled by a Muslim elite, the majority of its population was Hindu. Tensions between these communities had been simmering for decades. The Indian National Congress advocated for the integration of Hyderabad into the Indian Union. The Nizam, however, remained resistant, clinging to the dream of an independent Hyderabad. He surrounded himself with advisors like Qasim Razvi, the leader of the Razakars. The Razakars, a fiercely loyal paramilitary group, gained a reputation for violence and intimidation. As tensions escalated, the Indian government grew increasingly concerned. Negotiations were attempted, but the Nizam, emboldened by the Razakars, refused to budge. Something had to give. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the region. Chapter 3. The Razakars' Protectors or Perpetrators. The Razakars played a pivotal and ultimately tragic role in the drama that was about to unfold. Formed in the 1930s, the Razakars were initially tasked with protecting Hyderabad's Muslim community. However, their role soon expanded, fueled by the growing uncertainty surrounding Hyderabad's future. Under the leadership of Qasim Razvi, they transformed into a formidable paramilitary force. They became the Nizam's iron fist, used to silence dissent and crush opposition. Their methods were often brutal, marked by violence and intimidation. Villages suspected of harboring pro-integration sympathies were targeted. The Indian government accused the Nizam of unleashing a reign of terror. The international community condemned the atrocities committed in the name of Hyderabadi independence, yet the Nizam turned a blind eye to the atrocities. The Razakars grew even more brazen in their attacks. With the launch of Operation Polo, the Indian army moved swiftly to disarm and disband the Razakars. Many were killed in the fighting, others captured and imprisoned. Qasim Rasvi was arrested and sentenced to prison, his dream of an independent Hyderabad lying in ruins. Chapter 4. The Brink of War. As 1948 dawned, the situation in Hyderabad had reached a fever pitch. The city, once a symbol of cultural harmony and prosperity, was now a cauldron of tension and unrest. The streets, which had seen centuries of peaceful coexistence, were now battlegrounds of conflicting ideologies and power struggles. The Indian government, having witnessed the horrors unfolding in Hyderabad, found itself at a crossroads. The violence and chaos were not just local issues, they had national and international implications. The eyes of the world were on India, and the government had to act decisively. The Nizam, unwilling or unable to rein in the Razakars, had become a liability. His inability to control the paramilitary forces, who were committing atrocities, further alienated him from the populace and the Indian government. The Razakars, with their brutal tactics, had turned the situation into a humanitarian crisis. Negotiations had broken down, the chasm between the two sides too wide to bridge. The talks, which had once held a glimmer of hope, now seemed futile. The differences were not just political, but deeply personal and emotional, making compromise nearly impossible. The Indian government, led by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, faced a stark choice: intervene militarily or stand by and allow the violence to escalate. Nehru, a man of peace, was deeply troubled by the prospect of military action, but the situation left him with little choice. The decision to launch Operation Polo was not taken lightly. It involved extensive planning and coordination, with military leaders weighing the potential risks and benefits. The operation was a bold move, one that required not just military might, but also strategic brilliance. It was a gamble, a calculated risk that could have backfired spectacularly. The stakes were incredibly high, and failure was not an option. The planners knew that a misstep could lead to a prolonged conflict, further bloodshed, and international condemnation. But for Nehru and his advisors, the stakes were too high to ignore. The future of India as a unified nation was on the line. The discussions were intense, with every possible outcome analyzed and debated. The weight of the decision was palpable. The specter of a hostile Hyderabad, potentially allied with Pakistan, was unacceptable. Such an alliance could destabilize the entire region and pose a significant threat to India's security. The geopolitical implications were enormous, adding another layer of urgency to the decision. The plight of the Hindu population in Hyderabad weighed heavily on their minds. Reports of atrocities and mass displacements were heart-wrenching. The humanitarian crisis could not be ignored, and protecting innocent lives became a moral imperative. In the early hours of September 13, 1948, the Indian Army launched Operation Polo. The operation was meticulously planned, with troops mobilized from various parts of the country. The soldiers were briefed on their mission, aware of the gravity of the task ahead. It was a multi-pronged assault, swift and decisive, aimed at overwhelming the Nizam's forces. The strategy was to strike hard and fast, leaving no room for the enemy to regroup or retaliate. The element of surprise was crucial to the operation's success. The operation took the Nizam and his supporters by surprise. The speed and efficiency of the Indian Army's advance left them little time to react. The Nizam's forces, unprepared for such a coordinated assault, began to retreat. Within days, the Indian Army had captured Hyderabad, effectively ending the Nizam's rule and integrating the state into the Indian Union. The swift conclusion of the operation was a testament to the meticulous planning and execution by the Indian military. The integration of Hyderabad marked a significant milestone in the unification of India. Chapter 5. A swift conclusion. Operation Polo was a remarkably swift military campaign executed with precision and efficiency. The Indian Army, a force forged in the crucible of World War II, was now tasked with securing their own nation's integrity. These soldiers, seasoned by the global conflict, brought their experience and determination to the forefront. The operation was spearheaded by the Indian Army's 1st Armored Division, equipped with Sherman tanks and other modern weaponry. This division, known for its strength and strategic prowess, was crucial in the rapid advancement. They advanced on Hyderabad from multiple directions, their objective clear: to capture the capital city and neutralize the Nizam's forces. The multi-pronged approach ensured that the Hyderabadi forces were overwhelmed and unable to mount a coordinated defense. The Nizam's army, known as the Hyderabadi State Forces, was ill-prepared for such a confrontation. Despite their numbers, they lacked the training and equipment to effectively counter the Indian Army's assault. Outnumbered and outgunned, they put up a spirited defense in places, but their resistance was ultimately futile. The Indian Army's superior tactics and firepower quickly turned the tide of battle. The Indian Air Force played a crucial role, conducting reconnaissance missions and launching airstrikes against key military installations. These aerial operations provided vital intelligence and disrupted the Nizam's defensive capabilities. The fighting, though intense in bursts, was largely one-sided. The Indian forces, with their superior training and equipment, faced little resistance as they advanced. The Indian Army, led by experienced commanders like Major General Jayanto Nath Chowdhury, outmaneuvered and outfought their opponents. Chowdhury's leadership was instrumental in this swift and decisive victory. Within days, the Indian Army had captured Hyderabad's airport, cutting off the city's escape route. This strategic move isolated the Nizam's forces and hastened their surrender. On September 17, 1948, just 4 days after the operation began, the Nizam ordered his forces to surrender. The swift conclusion of the campaign was a testament to the Indian Army's efficiency and planning. Operation Polo had come to an end, marking a significant moment in India's post-independence history. The successful integration of Hyderabad into the Indian Union was a major achievement. The Indian Army entered Hyderabad, greeted as liberators by many, especially among the Hindu population. The city's integration into India was celebrated, and the swift operation ensured minimal loss of life and property. Chapter 6. A Legacy Forged in Conflict. Operation Polo remains a pivotal event in the story of modern India. It serves as a stark reminder of the birth pangs of a nation, the often violent struggles that accompanied its journey to independence. The legacy of Operation Polo is complex and multifaceted. It cemented India's territorial integrity, but also exposed the fault lines within its diverse society. As we reflect on the events of Operation Polo, let us strive to learn from the past, to build a future where such conflicts are but a distant memory.